Hello and welcome to Math World. Let's talk about similar shapes. Now, when we say similar shapes, we're not just talking about shapes that just kind of look alike. They have to have certain characteristics to be similar shapes. Similar shapes are two shapes that are the exact same shape, just a different size. And in order to be the exact same shape, they have to have all the same angles. So if you look at these two triangles, they look the same, but they're not similar until they're proven to be similar. And we prove them to be similar when they have the exact same angles. So say they each have a 90-degree angle here, and maybe a 60 up here, and then a 30 down here. So these two triangles have the exact same shape, the exact same angles. One is just slightly larger, so we'll call them similar shapes. Now, how much larger one shape is to another is important. We're going to call that the scale factor. And we've seen scale factor before when we were scaling up our equivalent ratios, and we're going to see it again here. Basically, the way it works is that if you have one shape with side lengths and we scale it up maybe by times 3, then everything in the larger shape has to be times 3. 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, and what would this side length be? Well, 4 times 3, it would be 12. And it doesn't really matter so much about how it looks and what you think it is. We're going to use the numbers that are given to us in the math. So knowing that each of the sides is proportionally larger based on a scale factor, and that the angles remain the same, makes it a similar shape. Now this can happen for any other shapes too. It can work for a pentagon, as long as they're the exact same angles. It can work for two squares or rectangles, as long as they're the exact same angles and the side lengths are proportionately larger. Okay, so how can we use the similar shapes for finding missing angles or missing sides? Well, if we have these two similar rectangles and we know that they all have equal congruent angles of 90 degrees, and I said they were similar with a scale factor of 3. Well, if this one is 3, the larger one must be 9. And if this one is 5, well, what is this side length? Well, it would have to be 5 times 3. It would be 15. We're able to use our scale factor to find missing sides if we know they're similar shapes. Let's go back and look at our triangle. If we say these two triangles are similar, meaning we know that they are proportionally larger sides and equal congruent angles, can we do some math? Well, let's go ahead and put in a couple numbers and see what we got. Say this triangle had an angle measurement of 80, and this one's 90. And these two are congruent. Can we figure out all the other angles? Yes, we can. Well, let's look at our triangle math. We know that all three sides of a triangle must add up to 180. So 90 and 80, 90 plus 80 equals 170. And if all three of them are equal to 180, then we know that 180 minus that 170 leaves only 10 remaining. So this last little angle must be 10. And let's look over here. What would these two angles be? Well, we already said that similar shapes have congruent angles. So this would have to be 80, and this would have to be 10. And it's corresponding congruent angles, meaning that the top one up here is 80, the top angle up here has to be 80. And that's it. That is our similar shapes. So again, they have to have congruent corresponding angles and proportionately larger side lengths. Well, that's it, and I'll see you in class. Now for a word from our sponsor, Papercut Games. This week's game, Monopoly. So most of you have heard of Monopoly. It's super old and super popular. It's probably the best-selling game of all time, but it doesn't make it the best game. It's just been around forever. So let's check out Monopoly. So Monopoly's been around for so long that there are tons of versions of it, tons of expansions. There's actually a list over here of 1,700 different types of Monopoly that you can actually have different themes, like the 70s or Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Atlantic City, or anything you can think of. Batman. So anything you can think of, there's a Monopoly version of it. My Monopoly version that I play with is Star Wars. Yes, I have a Star Wars Monopoly, and it's a classic old one. It's a little bit hard to find, but it's pretty cool. So in this game, if you don't know Monopoly, you pick a little person, it doesn't matter, and you start at one side of the board, and each turn you're going to roll some dice and move your little guy along. When you land on a space, you can have the option of buying it. Okay, so you're going to have money in this game, and you will then, everyone starts with a certain amount of money, and you pay money to the bank, and you get a property card. Okay, so I get this property that I landed on, and then it's mine. Now, if someone else rolls the dice, and they land on my property, then they owe me rent. They have to take their money, and they pay me. Yay, I get rent, I get money. And so the goal of the game is to kind of work your way around the board, buying more property pieces and collecting rent from people. And if whoever runs out of money is out of the game. And there's lots of little different things that happen in the game, like you can land on go to jail and have to go to jail for a while. Or there's different chance cards that say like you win a beauty contest and you win some money. There's lots of house rules, there's all kinds of rules. My favorite way to play is to make sure that you're talking to each other, and this is a social game, okay? People don't like Monopoly because it takes too long and they think it's boring. But if you make it a social game and you really try to wheel and deal and try to get extra pieces, it makes it a little bit more fun. So when I play Monopoly, I'm always trying to make offers and deals. I'll say, I'll give you $200 and 2 free stays at my property if you give me your property. Or I'll give you this house over here, and I'll give you my get out of free jail card. So I try to make lots of deals and make it a little bit more fun and interesting, and I always try to see what I can get away with to get a Monopoly. So whoever has the most money at the end of the game wins. It can be a long game. One hint, don't play with free parking. Don't do it where you get free parking and you get to collect the money in the front. That makes the game last an extra 2 hours. Get rid of that rule and you'll probably have a 2-hour game. Well, check out Monopoly if you haven't played it already. I'm Mr. Bigsby, and I approve this message.